Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
Happy Monday, folks. Happy Monday, Jessica. Happy Monday, Democrats, terrorists around the world. Jessica, it's been a little while.
It has been, and a lot's happened.
A lot has not only happened, but a lot is happening as we speak.
That is true. Very true.
Man, I wrote 4 articles this morning for IJR, and 2 of them, literally as I'm writing, I'm having to change because the story is changing. As we speak. One of them was in reference to, what's his name? The bomber being caught this morning. Mm-hmm. It was writing one, setting it up where, they were looking for him. That was changing. And so it's, man, quite a weekend and quite a day. Speaking of the day, we have Politistics Matthew Burke on at the bottom of the hour. Jessica, I'm not going to try to, he's a never Trumper. Right?
Yeah.
As have I been.
Kind of, yeah.
And I'm not going to try to talk him out of it because you can't do that. That's like an atheist. That's like an atheist and a Christian talking together and trying to change each other's minds. Mm-hmm. But what I am going to do, I got 4 areas I want to walk through with him. And I just want him to explain to me how Hillary would be a better option than Trump.
Well, I mean, that's one way, I think, that you can go with that, because I don't know. I don't, personally, I was like, if you were able to have McCain and stomach that, and you were able to have Romney and stomach that, like, I feel like Trump is really not that bad, but whatever.
Yeah, so we'll see. It'll be fun. He said, you're still not going to change my mind. I said, I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
I just want you to explain some stuff to me.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be kind of fun. And there's a couple things on Politistic I want to talk to him about. So we're going to do that. We have a few clips today. We have a Hillary clip. Obviously, there's more stuff going on than the New York City, the Manhattan, and the New Jersey bombings. So we're going to get to that stuff later. But got to start out with that, man, because it's they're here. ISIS is here, and we've been being warned about this by people who care for at least several years.
Very much so, and it's been happening for a while. These things that they want to call workplace violence, that were, people yelling allegiance to ISIS and stuff. I don't understand.
I mean, this goes back, the original terminology, sleeper cells, right?
Yeah. Throughout
the country. Reports and in effect confirmed by the FBI. This is one of the things I put up this morning, but the 5 people detained by the FBI, none charged with anything. But they're here. I mean, they are here.
I agree.
And before we have a Hillary clip on this, because this is hilarious, because this is impacting the race already. You and I were talking about that off air. But headline, I'm not sure where this is. I'm reading it on Yahoo News. But more than 800 immigrants mistakenly granted citizenship. This just happened.
Mistakenly? Jeez.
Mistakenly. The U.S. government has mistakenly granted citizenship to at least 858 immigrants from countries of concern to national security or with high rates of immigration fraud who had pending deportation orders, according to an internal Homeland Security audit released today. Think about that.
That is interesting, definitely,
and
scary.
And guess whose hands that play, or whose hand, actually is the way to say that, whose hand that plays into?
Whose?
Donald Trump's.
Of course.
Exactly. He's been being skewered by the left and some in the middle, and even some within his own party, for his initial comments related to, initially he said a ban on all Muslims, and then he modified that after he thought about it for a while, or after people around him thought about it, to say from terrorist countries. And until we have a better vetting process in place, that ban should be in existence. That's looking fairly smart right now.
Yeah, and actually I learned something new throughout that whole process, because I didn't realize until somebody pointed it out that there wasn't, pretty much they didn't let anybody into the country for a good 30 years. Up until the early 60s or the late 50s or something. That was crazy.
Yeah. And I still contend, and this is applicable, primarily to Latinos coming over the southern border. If Gallup and Quinnipiac and Rasmussen and whomever else kind of, spaced themselves out along the border and asked a single question: if you become a U.S. citizen, which party are you more likely to vote for? Mm-hmm. If the numbers were reversed, in terms of, we know what they say now, right?
Yeah.
Democrats. If the numbers were reversed, you'd have Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and every other Democrat in Congress, or those hoping to be at some point, locked arm in arm across the border, doing their damnedest to keep these people out.
Well, I mean, it's true, and a perfect example of it is, I remember very clearly in the Clinton administration, when, how much they were working to get the people coming from Cuba before they made it to the land, because they actually had political asylum, but they were like, we don't want you guys, They had the Coast Guard going up and down all over the place, and the whole Elian drama and all that stuff.
That's a good point. I forgot about him. It could not be more clear. And I've said this about multiple issues through the years. Most anything that Democrats feel vehemently about can be connected in no more than 2 dots, often 1 dot, to the ballot box.
Oh, true. Well, that was the funniest thing to me. I was like, they're like, oh, the border is so hard to secure. I was like, you guys are patrolling the water pretty well, and I feel like that's harder. So I think you can do this, but who knows?
You know what? If those people did tell the pollsters we're going to overwhelmingly vote Republican, their asses would be protecting the border. Their asses being the Democrats. There'd be no question about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah, so but let's get back to Hillary. Hillary, we have a short Hillary clip we're going to play for you guys, but she's been slamming Trump, about the whole ban on the whole vetting thing. Let's listen to Hillary now in light of what went on over the weekend.
But let us remember, there are millions and millions of naturalized citizens in America from all over the world. There are millions of law-abiding, peaceful Muslim Americans. This is the kind of challenge that law enforcement can be and is prepared to address, namely going after anyone who would threaten the United States. So I am absolutely in favor of, and have long been an advocate for, tough vetting, for making sure that we don't let people into this country, and not just people who come here to settle, but we need a better visa system. Let's remember what happened on 9/11. These were not refugees who got into airplanes and attacked our city and our country.
Tape, as Grant Ledger says. Before she got to the "so I am absolutely in favor" part, that sounded like Hillary Clinton.
Oh, totally.
As soon as she hit the "I'm absolutely in favor of," that sounded like Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's what's really funny. I was like, wait, right at that point, I was like, wait a minute.
Who are you and what have you done with Hillary Clinton?
Exactly.
Have you, as an aside, to digress, have you seen this nonsense, the conspiracists swear that Hillary has a body double? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but I mean, I can totally see that being a conspiracy theory.
One of a recent example that just proved it to them, and I put air quotes around proved it, was when she, almost face plants into the SUV morning of 9/11, and they whisk her off to Chelsea's apartment.
Yeah.
And then, 2-3 hours later or whatever. Now, here's a woman that just 2 hours earlier, had people under each arm, keeping her knees from buckling and keeping her from face planting, eating the carpet inside the SUV. And then a couple hours later, she comes kind of jaunting out and walking down the street. Nobody's near her or whatever. That proved to these morons that she has a body double. But anyway,
That's really funny.
Speaking of morons, MSNBC's Chris Hayes. You ever watch him?
No, I don't have TV, so.
That's right. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I've seen clips of him before.
He's as arrogant and pontificating as they come. And he's like, I think at least when he went on air there, he was mid-30s at best. Let me ask you a question, because I just put this post up about 20 minutes, before we came on. This is not the headline. This is my first kind of little paragraph. And I'm asking you this directly, Jessica.
Okay.
Have you ever written a tweet, a message on Facebook or whatever, and just before you hit send, thought to yourself, I'm going to get skewered if I post this?
Of course. I have, definitely.
And I wrote, me too.
Yeah.
Apparently that did not enter into Chris Hayes' head this morning when he tweeted the following. We're very, very lucky that the attackers tried to use explosives rather than guns.
What?
Yeah, that's verbatim. We're very, very lucky that the attackers, and of course he didn't say terrorists, but the attackers tried to use explosives rather than guns. He tweeted that out.
Yeah, he really did not think that one through.
No, and he's just been getting skewered.
I don't.
So you set aside the 29 people who were wounded by the bomb.
Yeah.
Who's going to say that he's? I mean, Dana Lash, Charles C. Cook. I don't know if you're Charles C. Cook or not, but Dana just says dumb tweet of the day. But Charles C.W. Cook, he says, and again, let's go back to Hayes' word lucky. Charles C.W. Cook posted an image of the Alfred E. Murrah building, Oklahoma City. The whole do you remember that image? The whole front of that thing was blown.
It was crazy.
And he says, at Chris Hayes, lucky building.
Wow, that was like mic drop right there.
That right there was just perfect. So I did kind of a selected Twitter thread on this stuff people saying about him, and then of course people were putting up pictures of the Boston bombing and the stuff that went on there. The guy in the wheelchair with his legs blown off, and I mean, and so he comes back later around noon. And he goes, it's not even noon, and I've resisted getting into like 5 arguments on Twitter already, feeling pretty good. Like he's proud of himself.
Wow.
So Cook comes back for more, too. He says, it's good to resist getting into arguments after you've said something stupid. And then he keeps getting hammered. And then a couple hours later, he says, he tweets, I really wasn't trying to make some grand point about guns, just a string of lucky breaks that meant no one died. That's all. Baloney. That's exactly what he was trying to do.
He was totally connecting those dots. Oh my God.
He was just getting skewered.
Backdrop. Like backpedaling big time.
All right, so we talked about how close the race is getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did I put this? There 15 states now, I think. Hillary Clinton, it was 13 swing states. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump had tied in polling average from 13 swing states. And we're talking Ohio and Pennsylvania and Florida and Michigan and across the board. And this kind of thing, it's terrible to say, but it's true. The last 3 days, helping the Trumpster out a little bit. But we have a couple of clips from Mr. President Barack Obama, he's out on the campaign trail, and he's trying to help Hillary out. Well, let's see. The first one about working folks. Okay, I want to hear that. This is Barack Obama mocking working people who support Donald Trump. Let's listen to that one first.
Okay.
You may have heard Hillary's opponent in this election say that there's never been a worse time to be a black person. I mean, he missed that whole civics lesson about slavery and Jim Crow. But we got a museum for him to visit. So he can tune in. We will educate him. He says we got nothing left to lose. So we might as well support somebody who has fought against civil rights and fought against equality and who has shown no regard for working people for most of his life. Well, we do have challenges, but we're not stupid. We know the progress we've made, despite the forces of opposition, despite the forces of discrimination, despite the politics of backlash. And we intend to keep fighting against those forces.
Okay, so that was the one. I mean, that's one of his new weapons, is to use black people. How else? How else could you take that?
Yeah. Oops. I guess I played the wrong one. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's fine because it really doesn't make any difference. So that's his new weapon, is to Problem is, and this is popping up more than this example. Mm-hmm. Princeton professor African American Studies Eddie Glaude, yes, he's black. Headline: Glaude rips Obama's speech to Black Caucus was condescending. It really annoyed me. And it was, wasn't it?
It was.
Well, this is him. He says, well, quote, I think part of what we see is that the Clinton campaign made a bad decision. They spent most of the summer trying to court disaffected Republicans and taking their bait for granted. So he goes on, which is true. And who is it that, her name escapes me, but co-founder of Black Lives Matter has skewered the Democrats, has skewered Hillary, in the sense that the only time they care about us is during elections. And then what do we have to show for it afterward? We were talking about polling earlier, and I don't have it up in front of me, but I saw two different stories today of black voters moving away from Hillary Clinton. The unthinkable could happen in November.
I mean, yeah, it's very, very, well, I've always thought it was going to be close, but I think it's going to be closer than I even thought. And
let me tell you, I told you this off air, right, about the Electoral College?
Yeah, you did tell me about that.
It was off air. If the election were held today, you would be right and I would be wrong. I mean, you've always said, it would be close. I, on the other hand, said when it gets to the Electoral College and 270 electoral votes, that Hillary would run away with it. That is not true anymore. Now, that may shift back. We know polls go up and down. Yeah. But as of today, it's a coin toss. And it always, this is kind of a cliche, but it's always all about turnout. And when you layer onto what we just said, the fact that there are a lot of people holding their noses and voting for Hillary. Some of them Bernie fans, right?
Well, there's a lot of Democrats holding their noses, actually, because
well, that too. And there's a lot of Democrats and I've said this for years, that have wished for years that the Clintons would ride the hell off into the sunset, never to be seen or heard for again. On the other hand, I would guess that the majority of Trump supporters, I mean, the Trump supporters would crawl through glass on bare knees to get to the poll to vote for this guy.
There's definitely the groups of those people. I've seen them.
So now, having said all that, which again makes it a toss-up to me, is
the never Trump people.
Well, you know what? I don't know. But Democrats' organization on the ground. Democrats are really good at getting out the vote. You know, just
they are very good at that.
At a precinct level, they're very good at that. And Republicans are historically not as good at that. And when you look at the fact that Trump has really not had an extremely impressive ground strategy, you know, so it's fascinating.
Well, it's actually, yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, because on the way to my house today, I saw two new, like, where strip malls, there are, where there was empty stores, where now they're like Republican bases. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
With not a long time to go, but, you know, we'll see. But, I mean, the Donald definitely has the up arrow right now. And I think Democrats are panicking. I mean, you know, the Nancy Pelosi, they'll never say it, the Pelosi's and the Harry Reids and the Chuck Schumers, and they're thinking this should not be happening right now. And you know what? I mean, any other Republican would absolutely be killing her, I believe. Any of those other 16 guys, I think, would. And now Trump's, there's some polls in Real Clear Politics average. He's ahead by 7-8 points. All right, well, we're going to hit that other clip, because this is the one I mentioned first. This is the secret weapon that Obama has for the Democrats for November, and it's mocking working people. Let's hear this one.
I keep on reading this analysis that, well, you know, Trump's got support from, like, working folks. Really? That, like, this is the guy you want to be championing working people? This guy who spent 70 years on this earth showing no concern for working people. This guy's suddenly going to be your champion? I mean, he spent most of his life trying to stay as far away from working people as he could. And now this guy's going to be the champion of working people. Huh? I mean, he wasn't going to let you on his golf course. He wasn't going to let you buy in his condo. And now suddenly this guy's going to be your champion?
So that's kind of open your mouth to change feet to me. I mean, he's trying to mock Trump, but he's actually mocking the people who are going to vote for him.
Yeah, it's like, this is the guy you're picking? Really, guys? Yeah, that's probably not the best strategy.
You know, and when you get into this, you know, Barack Obama, I don't know what he is. I don't know, he's not a sociopath, but I don't know all of the paths and so forth. But he ignores reality. I mean, there are more than 94 million Americans no longer in the labor force. We've talked about that for a couple of years. Hillary Clinton herself, last November, I made it very clear that hardworking middle-class families need a raise, not a tax increase. That's all he ever wants to do. But if you just think about that, he's out over the weekend. He's the clip we played about black Americans and the response he's getting from some black Americans for that condescending little tirade. And now this one, I don't think that he's helping her myself.
I mean, I think that also, I don't think he really cares. I think he's doing as little as possible, but also, you know, saving face. Because, you know, there's no love lost between them to begin with.
No, there's not. But what he does love is his legacy that he talks about all the time. Yeah. Trying to again, guilt shame blacks into I'm going to take it personally. You know, it's going to be hit on my legacy. He does care about that.
He does care about that, but you know,
and he knows there's a better chance of that remaining, at least in large part, intact if Hillary wins. That's all. No, that they hate each other. They despise each other.
Yeah, that's why I think it's a half-hearted attempt in that way. Like, you know, he's mostly joking about the stuff, and I think that if he acts, well, he's acting above it all, basically. Yeah, and so if he thinks that the best way to protect his legacy is also to be like, because also if Hillary does the terrible job everybody thinks she's going to do, he wants to be like, yeah, you know, I've never really said that, you know, like he's still protecting his part of it. Like, yeah. I gave her a softball and she couldn't hit it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. I'm going to try to work a couple of quick ones in here. Do you know who David Brock is?
No.
He's a dirtball. He's a snake. He's a hatchet man, and he's Hillary's hatchet man. He's a guy who founded Media Matters.
Okay.
And it was initially founded just to attack Fox News. He has this is in print now on his website. He will pay money, cold hard cash, for any new dirt on Donald Trump.
Oh, I did hear somebody was doing that. I didn't know it was him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got this new WikiLeaks kind of page called Trump Leaks.
Yeah.
And you click on it, and it's under the umbrella of Correct the Record. That's him too. Yeah. The site reads in part. When it comes to Donald Trump, we already have video of interviews where he discussed and he says a bunch of stupid stuff. Trump Leaks is an effort to uncover blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at the clock. Trump Leaks can provide compensation to those who have usable, undoctored video or audio that has been legally obtained or is legally accessible. So you click on Trump Leaks, and there's a form to fill out there where you can say, here's what I have. Call me and tell me what you will pay me for it if you want it. This is out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, I am not surprised at all because that's kind of how it works.
All right, James Woods, you do know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Conservative actor, active Twitter user. Hillary tweets the other day, Donald Trump looks at women and decides how their looks rate on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay? Mm-hmm. James Woods responds, and your husband usually looks at the top of their heads.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, one would wonder if you're Hillary Clinton, you probably want to stay away from anything sexist about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's really bad. Actually, it was somebody who was being a comedian, was pretending to be Hillary Clinton, and they were saying, I'll say whatever you want to get elected. You know, and she was like, you like dick jokes? I like dick jokes. I married a walking dick joke. Like, you know, so I was like, that's awesome.
Is that somebody we know?
No, it was a local comedian, but it was great.
I mean, you know, in the same vein of Chris Hayes, you got to think this is going to come back at me because of Bubba. Okay, we got to get out of here. We're going to come back with my buddy Matthew Burke. Don't go away.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Doug, I never thought I could go back to school, but when it's this easy, it fits.
I'm right there with you, Jackie, taking classes, watching lectures in the living room on the iPad. It's not hard.
I can be a mom, make dinner, get my classwork done, and not miss a moment with my family. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Jackie Velasquez, and if Doug and I can do this, you can do this too. Higher education with Liberty University Online.
Find out more about completing your college degree at the world's largest Christian university, Liberty University. Get all the details right now. Grab your cell and dial pound 250. When prompted, say the keyword Liberty University.
Training champions for Christ since 1971. Liberty University Online. Find out more about learning online. Dial pound 250, then say the keyword Liberty University.
Liberty University Online with hundreds of degree programs to choose from. Call now, pound 250. Say the keyword Liberty University.
That's pound 250. Say keyword Liberty University.
As promised, we are joined by my buddy, been on the show a lot of times, as his wife, Jennifer, but Matthew Burke from Livingston. How are you doing today, brother?
I am good, my brother. How are you?
I'm pretty good. You know, like we said off air before we came on, other than it being a slow news day, there's not a lot to write about. But other than that, can you believe it, man?
Yeah, just complete boredom, isn't it? I mean, it's like we talked about off air. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. It's just crazy.
You know, and I think this is the headline on Drudge right now. But in effect, they're here. I mean, you know, we've been talked to about so-called sleeper cells for years, but these people are here. And if anybody doesn't believe that, they're not paying attention to what's gone on over the last couple of days.
Well, that, or more than likely, or more so than I think we would like to admit, they know they're here, but they want to believe a lie. They want to live in their little delusionary progressive leftist bubble where they just stick their head in the, you know, their fingers in their ears and no. You know, they don't want to face reality. You know, it's the old adage, you know, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? Forget it. Forget that it's Trump that said this, but the whole notion of clamping down on at least Muslims from countries that are probably not countries that we would visit until we learn how to properly, and I mean properly, vet these people. That's a pretty damn good idea. And you know who's not looking bad for having said that right now?
Right. It was Ted Cruz. It was Ted Cruz's plan. And of course, he just conveniently stole that from Cruz without accreditation, which is fine, I guess. But yeah, that has not gotten mentioned. That was Ted Cruz's plan.
Yeah, and
word
again,
for word.
Irrespective of who said it, Hillary came out this morning and in effect agreed, which is, think about that. Here's a short quote. We played the clip. So I am absolutely in favor and have long been an advocate for tough vetting, for making sure that we don't let people into this country, and not just people who come here to settle, but we need a better visa system. Let's remember what happened on 9/11. That could have been Ted Cruz or, as you say, without accreditation, Donald Trump saying that. That does not sound like something Hillary Clinton would have said, let's say, on Friday of last week.
Right, and as you and I, and I'm sure most of your audience knows, those are just simply words. She doesn't mean a word of that. She's never fought for that. She's never spoken out about that. She's never introduced legislation to that regard when she was a U.S. senator and had the power to do so. So she has to move to the right on this issue because this issue totally favors Donald Trump like him, hate him. I'm more toward the hate part of that. But
Right.
it definitely favors him because she comes across weak on immigration. And he needs to hammer her on that. And, he's already doing it. He's speaking right now.
The Jessica and I were laughing before the break. A comedian playing Hillary, going through a whole spiel about I'll say whatever you want me to say, and there were some examples that were hilarious. But that's exactly right. That's who she is. That's what she does.
Right. She will do or say. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but we basically have two people that will do or say anything to get elected and aren't exactly tied to any fixed set of principles, you might say.
I have said that for months. Yes, I have said that for months. All right, so let's walk through Trump. Now, you would like to run him over with a bulldozer. I understand.
Let's be clear. I would like to run both of them over with a bulldozer.
Well, no,
I mean that figuratively, of course.
Oh, me too. And that's assumed, okay? Or we wouldn't be pals. I mean, if you were a Hillary,
God forbid. I mean, we were both against Hillary when he was writing her checks. So.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that's assumed. But and again, you're a never Trumper. I have been a never Trumper. And I am not going to try to change your mind. I told Jessica that would be like a Christian and an atheist arguing, believing that they could change one another's minds. And I'm not saying I've changed mine, okay? But I want to walk through. Let's just walk through. I got 4 issues here, I think. And just who we think might do a better job on all 4 of them. And since it's my game, I get to make the rules, okay?
Sure.
We can't – here's an answer I don't want to hear. You can say it if you want. I mean, but well, we don't know because Trump flip-flops so much that we don't know, okay? Let's pretend that isn't available.
That's a pretty big step there.
Well, because
that's
sure.
okay. I can go someplace else.
No. I'm because of course. I mean, the same thing could be said for her, and frankly,
yes.
could be said for most everyone who ran that's no longer in the race. But and the first one we're already kind of talking about, and that's immigration. As you just correctly said, Hillary will say or do anything without meaning a word of it, including part of the quote I just read. And we know what Trump has said. Now, whether the wall gets built or not, I mean, what's your gut in terms of which one of those people would do a better job controlling immigration into this country?
Well, I would have to assume Trump, not from the standpoint that I trust his word, because I don't.
Oh, and no one should.
He has never fought for this issue. He has never. In fact, he spoke out in 2012 that immigration squish Mitt Romney was too mean-spirited on his amnesty plan.
Right.
So we know in his core he does not believe what he's saying. However, I do believe that there is a chance that people on our side, if I even know what our side is anymore,
True.
might hold his feet to the fire to the point to where he may be better on that issue. At least I would hope he would be.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
Hillary, the thing about Hillary, and this is kind of an overview thing, but I think she could be stopped. Most of what she does could be stopped. She's weak. She's Jimmy Carter. Him, I'm not so sure. I don't think there's anybody on our side that's going to stand up to him if he decides to go full on, dictator mode. Yeah. But she's so weak, I think she can be stopped to do a lot of the things that she would do.
She would be much more likely to compromise, I believe, which in effect is what
totally.
Yeah. So here's the way I look at it. And again, man, I'm probably going to sit this one out too. So I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
There's a couple, 2 or 3 things that Donald Trump really hates. Okay, he hates to lose.
Right.
He hates to be proved wrong.
Right.
And he really hates to look bad.
Right.
So if you factor that in, a lot of what he said, whether it's even 50% of each issue, Donald Trump does not like to be proved to be a fool. He does enough of that by himself. Okay?
Correct. But he's also never afraid to go back on his word ever.
Well, that's true as well.
I mean, we've already seen that on that deportation force that got me the nomination. That's gone. It's gone. I mean, sorry.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't have to round them all up. No, I get all.
In fact, we don't have to round any of them up. I mean,
yeah. So I'm just saying, just if he does half, maybe a third, what he said he was going to do, and compare and contrast that with what Hillary and all the Democrats want to do. I mean, I said it in the first segment. If Gallup and Quinnipiac and poll after poll after poll, if you took all those pollsters and kind of spaced them out along the border, and as immigrants were going to come into the country, they asked one question: when and if you're allowed the vote, who would you be most likely to vote for, a Republican or a Democrat? If the numbers as they are now were flipped and 65, 75, whatever the percentages or higher said Republican, you'd have Hillary and Barack Obama and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and every Democrat in Congress, or as I said at the top, or wants to be at some point, you'd have them locked arm in arm doing their damnedest to keep every illegal out of this country that they could. But that's not the case.
Right.
So again, I kind of go back to Trump. He even if he's a pretend Republican, I would think that we have a better shot, regardless of if it's a third or half or whatever, of him on immigration. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I hope so, but have you noticed we have to just hope?
We have to hope.
We just have to hope because
we
really have no freaking clue. There's nothing to base it on other than things he's said the last 12 months. I mean,
exactly, and that's a good word to use, Matthew. With Trump, we hope. With Hillary, we know.
Right, but can I just say something? And this is more from a big picture point of view as a nation. All right. This is just my soapbox thing.
Good.
We have to, as a nation, get beyond this lesser of two evils crap. We have to. Yeah, we have to, at some point, reject that.
At some point, you do.
Or we're always going to have it. We have to. And, after McCain, most Republicans could hold their nose a little bit. After Romney, most Republicans could hold their nose. But at some point, and if this is not it, I don't know when, we have to say no. Both of these people are so abhorrent, so unhinged from anything regarding the Constitution that we as a people have to stand up and just say, hell no. We have to, at some point, get rid of this, A, B. Am I going to put my finger in the top socket and get electrocuted, or am I going to put it in the bottom socket and get electrocuted? Well, maybe the A might not hurt as much. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
That.
Yeah,
and it's a reflection of how screwed up we are as a society that we're left with these two losers.
That's a whole nother discussion, and that's 100% correct. I mean, the most advanced country in the history of civilization, the strongest country on the planet, 330 million people, and these are the two that are left. Oh, yep. Man, completely. But back to your point.
A criminal and a sociopath.
Yeah, I've written exactly what you just said and talked about it before. At some point, I mean, but I also believe, and I would, Trump's a bit hyperbolic, but, he's said of late that if we don't win this election, we're never going to win another one. And I believe that a lot of that is true. And I've written and talked about that as well, that, the demographics are changing so quickly in this country. And Democrats are doing that on purpose, again, because of the ballot box. Everything that Democrats, as I said in the first half hour, vehemently support, you can connect with one or two dots to the ballot box. At some point, it becomes impossible to elect a Republican president in this country. It's already hard when you look at the Electoral College.
Right, and it's I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but it's what Romney said that got him in so much trouble.
Right.
It's the 47% argument, when you get more people that have their hand out than are putting money in, you can always get elected that way by just promising people goodies.
And the Democrats are doing that exactly on purpose.
Yes, and if Trump thinks that he's going to be able to out-liberal Hillary, he's badly mistaken, like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Government guaranteed, government paid, taxpayer paid maternal leave.
So it goes on. And that kind of leads into the second of the four. Hope we can get through them. But taxation. And look, Trump has been all over the board on this.
All over the board. No idea where.
But again, Hillary has not. People got to pay their fair share. We're going to, and I love Democrat buzzwords. Fair share. We're going to invest, which roughly translates, and I say roughly tongue in cheek, into we have to take more money from wealthy people and redistribute it into all of our causes, right?
Yes.
We know, and again, with Trump, we hope that when the wheel of his tax ideas stops spinning, like on the Wheel of Fortune, we hope that it spins towards something favorable in terms of our point of view. But again, we know what Hillary wants to do.
Correct.
So
Correct, we do.
Yeah,
My problem with Trump goes beyond that. I question the man's sanity.
Well,
I think he has an untreated and serious case of narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about the narcissism.
And if history has taught us anything, it's you do not give those kind of people the keys to the mansion. You just don't put those kind of people in power, because those are the kind of personalities that turn out to be dictators. I mean, it just amazes me. The exact same people that said Obama was a narcissist are like, oh yeah, Trump train. They're out of their minds.
Yeah,
imagine what he'll do to reporters. Imagine
absolutely.
What he'll do to
he'll be a little potentate. But
if you like the First Amendment, I can't do it. I can't pull the trigger for someone I think is going to be a tyrant.
And he could,
just because he might be on my side once in a while.
He couldn't pull that trigger either. And I would not go as far out on the Alex Jones limb, and that Trump has the even if he wanted to, that Trump would have the ability to go full blown dictatorship like Hitler or Mussolini.
Obama's got about 25%. So
yeah, but Trump would stop. That's why we have three branches of government, and
we used to.
Well, on paper,
Obama's
done his best to destroy that. That part's true. That leads me to Supreme Court, and it's the same thing. I mean, I know a lot of Republicans that cannot stand Donald Trump that say, the same argument that I've been using here, and again to play point counterpoint with you, that we know the kinds of justices that Hillary would nominate. We know their stances on abortion, on same-sex marriage, on down the line. And again, Trump, we don't know. I mean, he's floated, 10 or 12 names. Would he pick from that list? We don't know. But again, we know the justices, the types of justices that Hillary would race to nominate.
Correct. But part of that possibility is we don't know his will be any better than Hillary. He did float a list. Exactly 24 hours later, he said they may or may not be on the list. It's representative of what could be on his list.
Sure.
And I think his daughter would probably pick him, to be honest with you. She seems to be
Ivanka seems to be fairly bright, in my opinion. But
and she's very, very, very liberal.
That part is true as well. Ronald Reagan gave us David Souter.
I know. So I mean,
William Kennedy.
Even if you had a really conservative president, I don't think Ted Cruz, with his experience in the Supreme Court, would give us any lemons. I'm pretty certain of that based on his track record and winning cases before the Supreme Court. But you're right. If you get a squish in there, Romney and McCain, some of the ones we've had in the past, there's no guarantee with that because, again, it's a lot of it is too, Mike. It's the Republican Senate. if we have a majority, we could stop any of Hillary's appointees. But we know they won't, because you'll have people like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell say, well, she has the right to appoint anybody she wants. And they'll rubber stamp it. And you'll have Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee vote against it.
As did Boehner. I mean, Boehner would come out and talk all Barney Fife about Obama, right? Then storm off, and then the next week fold up like a cheap lawn chair and give Obama anything he wanted.
Yeah, then fund everything that he supposedly was against. So the problems are a lot deeper than Hillary. The Republican Senate, they could stop her appointees if they wanted to, assuming we still keep.
I was just going to say, assuming
the majority,
and that wasn't looking good anyway, right? I mean, that wasn't looking good after 2014, just because of the way that the various senators roll up as it relates to this cycle. So it wasn't looking real good anyway, but that's a concern. I mean, it's definitely a concern. Okay, let's get to Trump's wheelhouse. Corporate regulations, business, and maybe particularly energy. Hillary wants to put a lot of coal miners out of business, as she infamously said, and then walked back. We know what Obama, sure, you can build a coal plant. We're just going to bankrupt you. Under my plan, energy prices are necessarily going to skyrocket. Hillary's a hell of a lot closer to that position than Donald Trump, I think, has ever been.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. But the problem is, and this is a deeper problem, but you have unelected bureaucrats making laws.
That's exactly right. And a lot of people don't understand and pay attention to that, by the way.
And that's been happening under Republicans and Democrats
forever.
Because nobody has the balls to stand up and say, wait a minute, these regulations you're passing have the effect of law, do they not? Can I not be put in jail? Can I not be fined? EPA, Are you listening? Mm-hmm. They don't have the right to be a Soviet-style Politburo, but yet
they do.
But yet they are, and we just accept it and go watch American Idol or whatever.
By the way, The Voice starts tonight. In the event that you were wondering,
probably not going to be checking in.
Probably not going to be something to watch. Probably not. Man, look, I don't know, right?
We're screwed.
We're screwed, but I think we have the potential to be screwed less by Trump. And again, I'm just throwing that argument out there. Then how bad we know we're going to get screwed by Hillary. So I guess
we have the potential to be screwed by Hillary. Okay, if you would say Hillary, if we're going to choose a dictator, Trump or Hillary, that's a different question. But Hillary, I don't think I don't know what to say. She doesn't have the political power. She's not her husband. Okay,
no,
she doesn't have the political skills. She's not Barack Obama.
She's a terrible politician. Weak. She's a terrible campaigner.
Right. So I think even the most weak Republicans can stop her if they want to. I mean, say, well, yeah, Hillary's going to do this. Well, Hillary's not going to be dictator.
But I don't think the weakest Republicans would do that, because you and I both know. I mean, if you use a football field analogy, it's not like the Democrats on one side of the 50 and the Republicans on the other. I don't know how far down you go, maybe the 20 to the 20 or maybe the 30 to the 30. Those people, whether it's a D or an R, are all the same, in my opinion. So I think that the weak Republicans, like the Mitch McConnells and people like that, would love to work with Hillary.
God. Oh, you're right about that. We gotta get things done. We gotta get more laws passed. I mean, absolutely.
You know what the best argument you've made today,
among many, by the way.
Oh yeah, and it was hard for me. hard for me.
How do you decide? I mean, really.
Well, I don't know. I'll answer that after. The best argument you've made today, and others have made, Michael Walsh and others. At some point, we got to say no.
Yeah, so when is it? I'm just doing it now. I mean, I don't care if anybody else does it. I'm doing it now. I can't stand it anymore. I can't squish my nose any tighter. I can't.
Okay, so from a cause and effect perspective, okay, you do that, and Walsh and a whole bunch of people, enough people to deny Trump the election. What does that do for us as it relates to a lot of what
I'm not denying Trump anything. I didn't create Trump, If Trump loses this election, it's because he's an idiot. Every time he starts to get ahead, he sticks his foot in his mouth. That's on him.
No question. But if enough Republicans, the proverbial sit home, regardless of what he does.
That's on him too.
I understand.
That's on him. That's only on the candidate. It's always on the candidate. He has not reached out to conservatives. That's him. That's not me. That's on him.
Look, Republicans can elect Hillary Clinton simply by not voting for Donald Trump. Definitely so. So that, but again, that in my humble opinion is
Democrats are making the same argument, by the way.
Sure, they are. But they can worry about them, and we need to worry about us. I
don't even know who us is.
I don't. Yeah.
Who is
well,
us?
That's a good point because
I
consider
if
myself
us is Trump. I'm not.
When I say us, I would think more in terms of, at least for myself, in terms of conservatives versus whatever the hell the Republican Party is all about right now. You mentioned Lindsey Graham. I mean, you can go down the list with people like that. But I know, Rush Limbaugh has said for years, right? I know liberals better than they know themselves. I feel that as well. And I just know, 100% in my bones that I do not want Hillary Rodham Clinton in the White House.
I do too.
That's the only thing that I absolutely know right now.
And I feel 100% the same way about him.
Well, I know.
Exactly the same way. If it's just wishy-washy, I could, flip-flopping, that's one thing. When it's insanity, I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, again, we're out of time, my brother, but I had no expectation of changing your mind. In fact, I consider it a small victory that on at least a couple of these issues, I got you to say, yeah, you're right. Look,
anything's possible. I'd love to be wrong, by the way. I mean, I'd love to come on your show a year or two from now and say, hey, I was wrong. I mean, I'd love to be wrong. I care about the country.
All right, brother, we got to get out of here. We're up against it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Come back.
God bless. I will. Thank you.
God bless, man.
Bye.
Later. Okay, Jessica. That was fun.
I think it's time to get away.